Do you feel like you're floundering under the weight of all the decisions in your home rental, remodel, or design project? And you just wish you could pick the brain and chat it out with a designer to get the clarity you seek? Well, now you can. Hello, Rosa. Thank you so much for joining me today. And we are going to be doing an Ask a Designer session, and I'm super excited to get started with you. But why don't you fill me in on where it is that you're about in your project, what's got you worried, what questions you have, where are you at?
Okay, we are, first of all, thank you for doing this for me. We're in the midst of a huge remodel. My kitchen, they're just starting to get the cabinets up. And right now, where we are kind of stuck at is our master bathroom.
Okay.
That is, we have, my husband and I, we do not know design in any sort. We cannot look and have a vision like some people can. We just look and we're deer in headlights. We're like, what in the world? So I was like, when I seen that you offered, I'm like, gosh, any ideas, any opinions? Oh my gosh, we would greatly appreciate, because we kind of have, like I've shared with you, a vision of what we want, but then to bring in like, okay, what else, to do, that's where we get stuck on, because we are different, but we want to make sure that we both love it and know where to start really with a design.
Yeah. Then knowing where to start is the key. Okay, so a couple of questions to lead us in. What is your style?
I love clean, neutral, earth-based tone. For me, I love that. Kind of like the Joanna Gaines style, that type. I don't like too much color, but I do love pops of color in there. It's just, for me, living such a busy life, having those neutral colors, it's really calming, and I love that.
Okay, perfect. And you mentioned that you're trying to obviously bring in your husband's style as well. So does he mirror yours, or does he a bit more bold? Kind of what is his style reference?
He pretty much mirrors mine. Yeah, he's not, we really don't clash a lot in that area. He loves like a little bit probably of black, or just, hints of that, not a lot, but pretty much we are the same.
Okay, perfect. That's always good, because sometimes it's where you're like, one person is really, really say rustic farmhouse, and then say another is like very bold minimalism, and it's hard sometimes to blend the two. But more importantly, because this is often the layer that people forget with design, is what is your style? So think about you in terms of clothing that you love, accessories, shoes. Are you very big, bold, and glam? Or are you more of like a neutral undertone person? Because design is very much a reflection of us. So when you think of you and your husband, how does that fit into the greater picture?
I am very much a t-shirt, jeans type of girl. Like, that is my comfortable zone. Give me a hat, give me some sandals, t-shirt and jeans, and I am good. And my husband is very laid back as well.
Perfect.
So yeah, that is pretty much my style.
Good.
Jeans still if I could.
I would wear like track pants all day long if I could, but like the stretchy pants all the time if I could, but I can't, so that's okay. Do you have a design plan or a vision in place for because I know you're taking on a couple projects. You have your son's bathroom, you have your bathroom, you have your kitchen, then you have your outdoor space you mentioned. So do you have an overall like design plan and vision for how everything flows together, or are we just kind of going at it as we go?
Kind of, we've been going at it as we go. I know I'm having the same flooring throughout the whole house. And then we do want to paint our walls white, some type of white, not stark white, but have that same color throughout the house, and then add pictures to that, or whatever. I don't like a lot of clutter, but I do love it to look cozy and comfortable when you walk in, so that's where we're at with designing. We pretty much know the same floor, same color of the house, but decor wise, we definitely want, but not a lot.
Okay, so we are definitely going a bit more kind of flying by the seat of our pants, taking things as we're going. little less of a plan to it and an overall idea, but not a fully mapped out vision.
Correct.
Okay, good. Good to know. And when you think of your house overall, as well as the rooms individually, have you figured out what is your end goal for them? Like, what are you trying to achieve with the renovations, and what are you trying to achieve in your home overall?
With the renovations, because I am like a nutritionist that I had shared, we live in our kitchen. So I want that hub to be comfortable and have, lots of cabinets and everything. And then that we have a huge great room that overlooks living room. So we want to, and being that we're doing our backyard too, we want to kind of have the flow where as our kitchen looks over the living room, yet our living room has the way it's seating can overlook the backyard too.
Got it.
Yeah, because we're going to do those huge black sliders, kind of those things. It's almost like the outside's in.
Yep.
In my room, our master bedroom is just, honestly, having it just be comfortable when we go in there. It's not cluttered. Everything has its place. And like I told you, I love the neutral earth tone. We just want that place to be like that, like we're ready to just get comfortable and relax because we live such busy lives. And that's why I love that color base, because it just calms me right now. Everything's everywhere. And I think I've had this wheat color for the last 15 years.
It's coming back, don't worry. People are steering away from the very stark whites and then going towards more of those, like, I hate to say it, but beige tones. Beige has such a horrible connotation, but more beige tones and have a bit more pigment to it. So it is coming back. So you've got there. But the reason why I've asked those questions is that a lot of the time we jump into projects without kind of mapping out exactly what it is that we want. And those questions really form the foundation of all the answers that you're going to be getting into and where it is that you're getting stuck now. So if we have an idea of what we like, what our style is, what we're trying to blend with, and then who ourselves are, who we are from a style perspective, we're able to make decisions a lot more easily rather than getting stuck in kind of what we see on the gram, what we see on Pinterest, and thinking that that's what we need because that's what we see. We're able to go like, no, I don't want that because I know it's not me, kind of thing, rather than making a decision and then loving it for a few months and then going, actually, this doesn't really feel right, and not knowing why it doesn't feel right. And it's because it's not really us, right?
Right.
So let's keep those in mind while we're taking a look, and let me share my screen. Okay, this is our kitchen that we are currently in. And I know from the notes that you sent over, we are looking at that we're going to do a large hood fan over top of a range. Are we doing two-toned or is it all white cabinetry?
It is all white cabinets, but I wish I would have done two-toned.
Okay.
Now looking back. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, white on white is a lot more timeless. So it depends on if you're renovating to sell or if you're renovating for longevity, where you're like, I never want to have to touch my kitchen for another like 15 years, then you're solid.
Okay, great.
You're solid. You're not getting trapped in like the trendiness of like the blues and the greens and the stuff that, eventually are not going to be on par anymore.
Perfect.
So we sent this over. Love your quartz. And that's the flooring that you have throughout, which is currently partially installed.
Yes, the one the picture that it's against, that was a different tile, but it's kind of like it. It looks like there, but yeah, the one that you have with the kitchen, that's their tile throughout the whole house.
Okay, yeah, so I was gonna say, I'm like, this looks a bit more darky red as opposed to this is a bit more of an orangey tone. So that makes sense. Okay. All right, so we've got a 2-inch shaker, we've got a lightly veined quartz, and we've got a more darky red flooring. And you've picked your hardware for your cabinetry? Yes,
I did a satin bronze.
Okay. And is bronze because you love bronze, or is bronze because that's what you're seeing?
Honestly, I loved it more than I could do matte black or gold. And my eye gravitated towards that bronze no matter what I looked at.
Okay,
So,
perfect. Just wanting to make sure, because sometimes we get stuck in with like the bronze and the brasses because it's what we see. And it's like, if we're not a very glammy, glitzy type of person, then eventually we'll tire of it, because bronze and brass is a much more glam style of a hardware. You're always going to see it. It's always going to be bold. It's always going to pop off whatever palette you put it on. So it's a much more like bold and intentional hardware, as opposed to something that's more muted, like a brushed chrome or a brushed satin kind of finish. So those are the things to consider when we're picking hardware. So I know one of your first questions was your faucet for your sink and then your pot filler.
yes.
So walk me through your rationalization in terms of what you're thinking for your plumbing fixtures.
Well, that was the thing. I don't know, to the right, you can see that's what we have right now is our sliders, but we're gonna do those huge doors, gonna be black. Being that the hardware is that satin bronze, do I make the pot filler and the kitchen sink that, or do I do a black, like a matte black to
Okay.
have a little pop? So I wasn't
Gotcha.
sure.
And to answer that, it really depends on what we're going for overall. Because I know you also asked about lighting. So we're going to look at the both. So
Okay.
these are white on white kitchens. As you can see, we have the black hardware and then we have the black lighting. Here, the black is used as the accent palette. And then in really the design as a whole, I would characterize this more as a light farmhouse modern. It's not like very overly farmhouse, but it's got hints of that design kind of flowing through it, especially in the way that the lights are done and then the way that the valance is done over top of the hood fan. So black here is used as your accent. It also, black, you have to remember when you are using it anywhere in your home, is a very bold color. So it's going to draw your eye inwards. And that's, as you can see, you kind of like flit your eye around to all the little black portions in the kitchen. It's going to really pop off of your cabinets. So if you're going to do black as your faucets and then your pot filler, we're going to need to introduce black somewhere else in like a larger scale. So it's not a whole bunch of little black throughout the kitchen.
Okay.
Are you going to change on me? No, of course not. Technology. Here is one where they have mixed brushed chrome with brass, which is actually one of my favorite combinations, because brushed chrome in itself is a very muted hardware color. It just kind of recedes into the background, especially when paired with whites or very light gray tiling. So it doesn't become something that's a very prominent feature. It's not competing against the boldness that you've put in the rest of the kitchen through those brass and gold features. Those are allowed to really be the highlight in the focals, and it's just kind of playing a supportive feature.
I love that. I love that. I gravitate more towards that.
Yes, it's less like daringly in your face almost. Like black can work in certain aspects, but people forget that you need to introduce it in different sizes in order for it to not just feel like it's tiny little blips of black throughout your house, if that makes sense. What are you doing for your backsplash?
We are actually using the same quartz all the way up.
So you're going to return it up. Okay, yeah. So then that very light graining that you have in your quartz, which is, I don't think I have it. That's okay. Here, the brushed chrome will pop very nicely off of it because it's got that gray undertone to it. And then depending upon what it is that you wanted to do for your lighting, because I know that was another question that you had, you could pick a brass to go with your hardware, or you could pick something, then you have another element that you can bring in. You can pick something that's got more of that brushed chrome kind of look to it, and you're not tied to one metal choice at that point because you've got it replicated elsewhere in your kitchen.
Okay.
And for pot filler faucets, they're all virtually the same. Some of them are a bit more farmhousey in style in terms of how the faucet component works, but how they operate are all the same. From a kitchen faucet, you really, aside from what the finish is, you really need to think about how you need to operate.
Okay, how I needed to operate.
Yeah, so like think back to your kitchens in the past. What type of faucets have you had? What has annoyed you about it? Has it been too hard handles in order to get a temperature? That's what this is here. This is a bridge faucet. So it's got a hot and a cold on either side. It doesn't have a pull down component. So do you need that in terms of a sprayer that pulls down? It's got one attached to the side. Do you want that as part of your actual gooseneck faucet where you pull down and it's a sprayer? Do you want a drink kind of components to it where you've got a water filter added to the side? Those are all things that you kind of need to think about when you're deciding what style and type of faucet you're looking for, rather than over just what the finish is. Those components actually kind of come first, and then we start thinking about what kind of finish we want that faucet to come into.
Got it.
So if you, well, I mean, your kitchen's got it already, so you'll have to think back to like kitchens of your past of maybe what annoyed you or what you liked. They do have touchless ones now. So if you are a functional nutritionist and you're going to be cooking a lot, that might be something that's worth considering, where you can like bump it with your elbow when you know you're not passing germs. They all come in all the different finishes. So really nail down what it is that you're looking for that faucet to do for you and how you want to operate it, and then look towards what kind of finish you're going to bring it in.
That's great. And I'm just thinking of everything because yeah, definitely would do, like you said, a touchless, and we do a water system.
Yeah.
Connect to it and the attachment to be able to like clean my sink. So I didn't even think of all that.
Right? Like sometimes you don't even think you're like, it's just a faucet, but a faucet can do a lot of things.
Exactly.
And then also the other thing is to think of with faucets is, which is a weird thing to think of, but sometimes their shape and their style actually resonates more with a certain design aesthetic versus another. So they have ones that are very ornate, more like very French curvature kind of style furniture. Those are more like the antique style, rustic farmhouse, more embellished faucets. And then you have ones that are very industrial, like, you know, if you've ever worked in a commercial kitchen, they have like the pull down spray hoses. Those are very much more industrial style faucets. So kind of also think back to the style that you're trying to bring into your entire house, and kind of which one is really going to pair well from an overall like shape of the faucet to what is going to pair well with the actual design.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are kind of the three components to think of for plumbing fixtures.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay, perfect. And then we go to the bathroom. And what were your questions for the bathroom? Were tiling, and then what was it, how to make this work better? So what's not working for the washroom right now?
Well, we definitely don't want that tub connection to that shower.
Okay.
I want to do I still want a tub, but I'm going to do like the standalone tub. I don't know what you call them.
Freestanding. Yep.
Freestanding, yes. And then my husband still wants like a walk-in. So we kind of found where we can have kind of the glass on the left-hand side, the glass on the right-hand side, and you walk in through the middle, because we're thinking of the shower head where it's against that wall, putting it to the right.
Yeah, so the window wall?
Yes.
Yeah,
the window
okay.
wall. Yeah. And because we want the tile to go all the way up the wall, we're kind of confused on, do we do little tiles? Do we do big tiles? You know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first things when designing a bathroom, first question that comes to, are you reconfiguring plumbing? In which case, like, are you completely gutting your bathroom and then you have the ability to put stuff where it makes the most sense in terms of flow?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So then the second question that leads on to that is to really look at the bathroom that you have now, and to, with your husband, make a list of all the things that are currently not working and that drive you insane. That like every single time you walk in there, your eye starts to twitch and you're like, oh, I just wish I could change you. Those are the things that you really need to focus on. And then the list of the things that are really important to you to have in a washroom. So do you want double sinks? Do you want a makeup vanity station that's inside the bathroom? so that, you're not getting all of your makeup all over the sink. You want a separate area. Would you like it to be an LED backlit mirror so that, you're getting proper lighting shining on your face when you're doing your makeup and you don't have, walk out looking like a clown? Do you want a really big 5-foot steam shower? Is that super important to you? We talked about a freestanding bathtub. What does that look like in terms of in your head and in your vision? Is it a very large floor mounted faucet that comes over, or is it a wall mounted faucet? Those are all things. Do you need your toilet to be off in its own like separate compartment, or can we use that space more effectively throughout the entire bathroom? So those are all things that we need to start thinking of first before we even get to the question of like, okay, well, what is it going to look like? Because that's really what's going to dictate how everything relates to one another. And then from that, what portions you want to pull your focus to, which then you can think of, I want to pull focus to, say, my shower. So I'm going to do more of a little bit higher end, glitzier, glammier type of tile in there, and then just have a really neutral base kind of elsewhere. So that's where you really need to pull your focus first. And then we start working towards developing it with the layers of the tile.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So from tile, though, I had picked up a few. Let me go to my other folder.
Sure.
And again, thinking about the idea of, are you in this house for a longevity, or are you in the house where you're thinking you'll leave in a few years and you're okay if it's a bit more trendy? Subway tile comes in a lot different variations these days, and is honestly one of those tiles that you can play with. You can change how you install it to really add a lot of variety to it, and it is always going to be timeless. So here, this one is actually a rough textured subway tile, so it's not like very glossy or gleamy. It's got a little bit of unevenness to it, so it gives it a little bit of a up leveling to it versus a traditional subway tile. You don't like colors, we won't look at those, but you could even, these are very soothing tones where you can look at this as like a arched version of a subway tile. But again, we don't need to do the color, but just start looking at how it is that you want your bathroom to look and feel. And then in your shower portion, these are also subway tiles, but they're just done in an offset. And then they've given that little bit more of a bold punch on the flooring.
Okay.
So again, it's like, this is where their focus was. This is like their money shot. They're like, I want my glam factor to be my shower. And that's where they put the emphasis through the tile.
Okay, so I was told this by someone that had seen it and said, because I don't know if you've seen the picture, we had tile. They said because our bathroom's like big, the wall, and we want it all the way up the wall, they think that would be too busy.
Putting the tile all the way up the wall?
Yes, the small tiles that we chose. Because I'm seeing the ones that you're sharing with me, the subway tiles, it seems like about the same size, but they recommended saying because it would be all against the wall, have bigger slabs. So me and my husband were kind of like, oh, okay, what do we do?
There are two very different looks, and it honestly depends on what, did I pick one? That had it, I think I made it 1 second. Like this is a square tile, and then it's paired next to a large format, which is I think a 48 by 24 by 24, which is then carried through the floor. That's another thing you need to think of with your bathroom is, do you want your shower to be curbless? That's what this is here, where the floor is actually slightly sloped so that the entire floor, if say you were in a wheelchair, you had accessibility issues, you could just roll and walk right in. You're not stepping over a 4-inch curb. You don't have like a pan at the bottom. That's a curbless shower. For that, the floor actually needs to be sloped a certain way at a certain grade so that everything flows towards the drain, which is this linear portion, right? So those are those types of things to consider. I don't know if I have one. This is a larger format. This is the 24 by 24 in a pattern. Like it depends what you're trying to do in the short answer. This is I believe it's 2x6 subway. And again, it's the color, but you can do it in whatever it is you like.
Yeah.
So, and then here they've done a vertical band at the top. So they've framed it in a certain way.
Okay.
My comment against it being too busy is it all depends upon the grout that you put in. The reason it's claimed as it's busy is that the smaller the tiles, the more grout lines, the more visual variation you have.
Yeah.
So if you want the look and the texture and the feeling that you have a full tiled wall and you like the tile that you've chosen that's smaller, pair it with the grout that is more similar in tone. So you don't see too much of a variation, and then it will blend in and it won't be as busy. If you pair it, say you've got a white tile and you pair it with a dark gray grout, that's going to pop instantly and all you're going to see is the gray grout.
Yeah.
So that statement of like it's visually more imposing when it's a large tile is not 100% true. It depends upon the grout that you put it in, and fully tiling walls is actually a form of like grandeur. And if you don't, and you only tile a portion of it, you have to think how you're going to finish that edge.
Okay.
So lazy way of tiling is Schluter edging it. Excuse me. So they take a metal strip and they basically cap the top of the cut edge piece, and then it creates a finished edge. But depending upon, again, the style of the bathroom and the house that you're creating, sometimes that metal edge doesn't fit it.
Okay.
In which case, some tiles actually come with corner rounds, which are like your design features at the top that then finish the edge in a tile format. And then you have to think, where does that line cut?
Yeah.
So that's where what's happening right now, which is that it's just cutting at the top where your actual shower head is.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
what's your preference? Are you wanting a large format, or are you liking more of a smaller one?
The format as far as like how far it's going, or tile wise? Tile wise?
Yeah.
I don't know. That was the part where, I mean, me personally, I would like bigger, but my husband loves the tile. So I brought the little tile, and just to put it against and see, and then waiting to hear your opinion on that. And but I completely understand what you're saying too, where if we match that grout closest to that tile, you don't, see that busyness. You see more. And with the pictures you showed me, I can,
Yeah.
especially the light ones, it doesn't look busy.
So another thing to consider when picking tile size is, how big are you thinking? Are you thinking like a giant slab? Or are you thinking like 3 feet by 4 feet? Like, how large are you going in your tile format?
It just depends. I don't think 3 feet by 4 feet. It depends, honestly, if that's what the tile comes in. I was looking at some, I honestly didn't measure, but they were a lot bigger than the little tiles.
Yeah.
But they weren't 3 by 4. So
Okay.
Medium sized.
So the bigger you go, the more labor intensive it actually is. And that seems contrary to what people think. Small tile, it's easy to maneuver. Depending upon the tile, sometimes it's easier to cut. It really only one person is needed. The larger you go, the more tile like components the installers need in order to set it and to have it be leveled properly. So those like tile grips where they've got really big tiles, and the larger you go, where it's like an entire wall that's one big sheet, those actually take more than one person to install and then to set in place and to hold it so that it sits there. So your costs of labor increase. So sometimes those are the factors that you really need to consider when you're thinking what format you want and then how you want it to work. And also smaller tiles give you a bit more leniency in how good your drywall is and how like flat and level your wall. If you have a lot of variations, if you have some walls that are out and they're not completely flush and plumb, large format tiles make it more difficult to install because they have to basically shim it in order for it to sit flat. So that's a lot more labor intensive in order to get it to look exactly right. Where a smaller format tile, they can kind of maneuver it a little bit more easily.
Okay.
So if you're in an old house, I don't know about you, my old house, I don't think any of my walls are completely straight. So I'm always dealing with like little things that need to be shimmed out here and there. So, yeah. Those are always kind of things that I'm thinking in my head where it's like, do I want to pay for the labor and the cost of someone coming in and having to like prep it so that it's very, very much ready to be able to receive that larger format tile? Or do I want to go smaller and have it be able to kind of have its give in the install process?
Okay. It's good to know.
Yeah. Any other questions that you have for me?
I guess it would just be, I mean, say we go with the subway tile,
Mhm.
and I'd want to do like large glass as high as I can.
Yep.
What would be a good finish? I don't want the black on it because we did my guest bathroom, my son's bathroom with the black and the lining. What type of, I guess how you said in the kitchen, brush chrome? Because they have it where it is, would it be better to do where it's seamless and it's just like the little brackets?
Oh,
Or
you're talking with how the glass mounts?
yes,
Gotcha.
yes. Because if I, in that picture I sent you, it had like that outline kind of something. I don't want to go with black for sure. So what would be a good color to use? The
That
picture.
one you don't see it. This one like is intentionally glammy, right? So that's why they've got it with the brass tone throughout, and they've done it as a curve, and then it's lightly trimmed out. And then it's basically just siliconed to the wall with a slight little grit, and then silicone to the floor. You can do it where it's more minimalist, and then it's just got the two brackets on either side, and then it's silicone beaded. It really depends upon overall what type of like end goal you're going for. My preference for shower doors is always some type of a trim so that you don't walk into it. And as silly as that sounds, I've walked into a pane of glass because it just, you couldn't see it. It was a window, but same thing. It was too large, and visually, sometimes when you're in a hurry or you're like turning a corner, you will clip it. And that's because your eye can't like delineate it. Where at least some form of a trim around it, it gives it, it's a frame, and then it gives it a portion for you to be able to say, okay, there's the glass. I see where it stops and it starts. I'm not going to run into it, kind of thing.
Okay.
Also makes your hardware for your door feel less heavy. When you have a door and it's fully glazed without any trim, and then you've just got like a pin mounted hardware, sometimes it feels like it's unfinished and it's out of place. Where if the glazing has trim around it, and then that hardware that matches that trim, it kind of now feels like it's one combination and it all feels like it's tied together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Good ideas. Thank you.
I hope this was helpful for you.
Super helpful. I just wish I had you from the beginning because that would eliminated a lot of the confusion. But you really showed me things on kind of like really knowing what we want and what we don't want first and foremost. That is huge, what I learned from this. And then start going from there. So
yes,
that is very, very helpful.
Oh, I'm so glad, because I find so often people get trapped in kind of what it is that they think they're supposed to have. And then they head down that road and then they love it for a period of time. And then it's like, I actually don't really like this. And it's because it's what you see and you think that's what it is that you want. So always kind of keep that in mind with future, with the selections that you're making, is what do I really want and what really resonates with what's going to work for us in our home for longevity.
Great. Thank you.
Perfect. You're very welcome. It was so lovely to chat with you. I'm going to stop the sharing. Perfect. Thank you so much. And I had an excellent time. I hope you did too.
Yes, I did. Eye-opening on a lot of things. So thank you. Thank you. Can't wait to tell my husband. So
Perfect. Lovely. You have an absolutely excellent day.
you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You found this helpful, be sure to give us a like, hit subscribe to be notified when new videos drop, and be sure to share this with someone who could use a design boost. And if you're struggling in your very own remodel or design project and want your very own design brainstorming session, be sure to click the link in the description below and snag your spot today.